Hi and welcome to this week's Something for the Weekend. I'm Tony, Sales Manager here at Martin Lynch & Sons, and I've just come off a Zoom call with a company called Flex Radio. Yep, you know all about Flex Radio, made those wonderful 6000 series radios. Well, they've got some new models coming out if you haven't heard already. The 8400 and the 8600. Yes, there's going to be an M version for those of you that like traditional radios. And even better news, if you're going to be attending the Newark Ham Fest, we're going to have the first ever unit in the UK on our stand. So make sure you visit the Martin Lynch & Sons stand at the Ham Fest. Come and take a little look before everybody else. As I said, I had a chat with Flex earlier. So hi again to Mike and Andy at Flex. Very, very interesting conversation we had. I can't show you all of it, but I am going to pick out some highlights, which I think you'll be very, very interested in. So let's go over to that Zoom call now.
So this is a quick overview on the 8000, well, 2024 and the 8000 series. These slides are part of the slide deck we presented on the weekend. So there's two slides up front here that just say, hey, what's a Flex radio? You obviously know this part already. That's a typical HF radio, so we'll just skip over that. But I'll just run through this. All the current radios today have band pass filters in them, which make them really good for field day or high density operations. The 66, 67, and 86, pay attention. You know, anything with dual SCUs have built-in OTRSP for contesting, plug and play with N1MN, drop-down single box, full SO2R rig. This is a key one. I don't know if this has been explained to you, but you know, we crunch everything from 30 kilohertz to 54 megahertz 100% of the time. So, you know, customers can put the receivers wherever they want. Whereas with everybody else, you're limited to some difference in bandwidth. The K4 is a little better on that, but you've got to go below the low pass, below the low pass filter for your main band. Now I think that all goes away if and when they ever get the HD built.
Okay.
All right, and
yeah, we don't see many of those over here, so
controlled envelope single sideband, bigger talk power. Okay, so it's about a 3 dB improvement. Of course, we're future proof, and you've probably long since learned that we're about as plug and play remote as possible. If you just read chapter 9 of the manual, it's pretty much done. So we came out with a new Maestro. This is again, these are probably things you've seen already, but better Wi-Fi, better MIMO. That's multiple in, multiple out. If you know the Wi-Fi world, Wi-Fi 6 compatible. Not Wi-Fi 6E, which is 6 gig. Side tone is significantly improved. We say 8 hours of runtime on the batteries. We're seeing 10.
That's good.
We go now to a display. We've gotten rid of the tablet, so hopefully if we ever run into display issues again, that the retooling is less straightforward. And HDMI display output, and as you've probably learned, we've gone to a TRRS CTIA standard mic connector. The shouting's gone down on that as we expected, as they figured it out, but I think we're going to see more of that. We went there at the recommendation of Radio Sport. I said that's where the world's going, and we know that Dave at Radio Sport makes some incredibly good stuff. So
yeah, we stock a full range of his stuff. So
and then I assume he treats you wonderfully, right? So
of course.
Yeah, 24 volt. It's a different charger. It's a 24 volt charger. There's some grumpiness over that, of course, but when Steve puts it, he goes, when I put that big battery in, I wanted that sucker to charge in an hour, and it does. And that was sort of the driving force as well, rather than being stuck at 12 volts, because the whole device runs at about 15.8 or something is where it really wants to be. So we're in Smart SDR, we're going to see finally TGXL integration. And you can see here at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
And so there's your panel, and there's your indicator if you're tuning and stuff. Very similar to the Power Genius. I have not seen it with both devices on it yet.
Is there a lead time with regards to these parts being operational with the software, or is it?
No, I asked that yesterday and didn't get the answer I wanted, but it's the priority. And to be honest, the priority now is to get adaptive pre-distortion at the door first.
Yep. Okay.
And then that's the next priority. This will show up we're releasing 3.8. Then this will show up in 3.9. And then we're also have got some analog meters. These are actually written. I have not seen them, but apparently they've been around for a while. So hopefully they'll be in 3.8. And as Steve says, why would anybody want to take their wonderful, accurate digital meters and make them analog again? But they do. So here they are.
I like the look of it. I do like
the look at it.
Yeah.
The real hard part is taking a digital meter, of course, and make it look, mechanical weighting. And that took a lot of work and stuff. So you can pick power or SDR. All right, so let's get into the 8000s. So the 8000s today, this week, we should start shipping to the rest of our alpha team members. We tiered it out. And just so you know, the reason it comes so slowly, the first 10 boards cost about $10,000 a board to build, I heard. And of course, when you build the next 100, the price drops dramatically. And so you build 5 and you muck with those and you get those all happy, and then you build 10 more and those are hopefully better, and we're pretty close. So they're built on the same architecture as the 6000 series. We kept the same form factor, the same case it was just a cost reduction exercise and time. We had to rebuild the radio because there's about a 7-year cycle in electronics in today's world when you just sort of have to start over. And I bet you, I've not done the homework, but I bet you if you look at ICOM or Yaesu, it's sort of the same thing, although they managed to stretch the 817 much longer than everybody thought they would, type of thing. So it's about a 7-year cycle, and it takes a couple of years to build a radio, and that's where we are today. We actually, we did that with the 6000s, the 64 and the 68, and of course now we're up to the 8000. They're a lot faster under the covers.
Okay.
So we've got
if I've got the old 64, 66, I can literally just slot it in to the same shack space.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and we do a lot to ensure we're backward compatible. So we've come to a 4 times faster internal CPU. This is the part that does a bunch of stuff. And it's actually a Linux thing. And then the field programmable gate array, which is the part that grabs all the A to D stuff from the spectral capture unit, which is what the antenna hooks up to, is twice as fast. And if you don't know how much data moves, because we're taking the entire radio spectrum, we're sampling it at 16 bits and feeding it out of the spectral capture unit into the field programmable gate array, that's about 3 gigabits of data. That number, when I sell it that way, that people don't seem to get that that's 3,000, 1,000 megabit networks. Okay, so it's a lot of stuff. We are going to, because we have much faster CPU and much faster headroom, or much more headroom in the radio, this is going to allow us to add more features and functionality into the radio, hopefully better noise mitigation, and there's some ideas there with better improvement in diversity reception, and probably things we've thought of, and it really and we're going to press to get there, because there's certainly noise mitigation is the biggest thing probably now, after who thought remote would be so mainstream, but it's turned into such a mainstream.
We've been introduced to remote in the UK, so majority of the license here in the UK can now actually operate remote, which we couldn't do before. So to us that's a big bonus now, and something we're kind of looking forward to. So that'd be great.
We've got an integrated GNS receiver, which is a GPS receiver, so it keeps the radio on frequency. The number you want to tell your customers is plus or minus half a hertz at 54 megahertz, which is really darn good. And if you want, you can add the GPSDO for higher accuracy, gives you the 10 megahertz output. This has to be done at the factory. Now, could you guys do it in your shop?
I would have thought so. Yeah. I mean, we we'll have a chat with the engineers. Would be the best way to do that.
Okay, and you may want to talk to Paul about doing it. It's apparently you have to take the whole bottom of the radio apart, which which is why we've decided to be a factory thing. So,
Yeah, let's
not
see.
saying you can, so I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but you know,
We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
yeah, Mike said we could do it ourselves.
Yeah.
I know that. Don't do that on me. So to rewind to the other part, so the bigger question is here, what happens to the 6000 as we get down these new features? So we are looking at an outboard processor, and it actually is quite simple. You would take it, you would plug it into some power and plug it into your network, and there might be some slight configuration to tell it which radio to use, and it's that simple. We could offload all that work to a coprocessor type of thing, and we now have you seen Tapper's free DV board?
No.
Which gives you digital voice, gives you a waveform right on a Flex radio. I have one plugged into my network here, and I go to mode and I get free digital voice. It's just a different mode on my radio, and I use the same microphone, the same headset. It's actually slick, and we'll probably see more of that.
That's how it was. Okay.
Okay, so you've seen this chart before, but you get the idea that in one SCU, two SCUs, and I'll send you the presentation, obviously. So Mars, do you have many out of band requests? Do you have like the equivalent of Mars?
We do, yeah, we do. The best way of putting it is for 11-meter band requests.
Yeah, well, that one we're not doing, so.
Yeah. And obviously in the UK we have 5 megahertz as well, so as a standard.
If I wanted to just say, hey, let's sell 1,000 more radios, let's just make it easily modified for CV.
No,
but
we're always asked that. We're always asked for the 11-meter mod, but we kind of say
I'm sure that's what
we kind of advise it's not a good way to go.
No, it's not. So here's the back, the sort of the part. So the GNS or the GPSDO antenna is still in the same place. Well, not even in the same place, but it is on top.
Yeah.
You can ignore this cover. You customers might want to think we cheaped out, just because we're going to use the same back for every radio now. So there's some plugs on it. You just have to say it saves them money too.
Yeah, it's another option for you, isn't it? So.
Yeah. There's a 1 PPS in here. That's for the 9000 series commercial stuff. It should be capped. It's not wired to anything.
Okay.
And then we have an HDMI port here that of course be populated for an M series, and 10 megahertz out for reference for your everything else if you have a GPSDO installed. 10 meg in, it got moved to the bottom. And this works on all models of 8000, and of course if you have a 2 SCU radio, the second set of receiver in or transverter ports, of course, and this makes a hell of a satellite radio. I'll be honest, I use it on satellite. Is it overkill, but it's leaps and bounds better than a 9700 in terms of interfacing and visibility, just to watch other guys
just to
all
see
over.
Makes sense.
It's a heck of a transverter radio too, and you're probably finding it as well. I mean, we have customers that, I'll be blunt, it's not about the price. I'm sure you have both sides, but some of them just see it as
it's
anyway.
a strange one. When it comes to transverters, it's a strange one in the UK. It's kind of a very specialist part of the hobby. So yeah,
and you get a couple of...
if they're not homebrewing, then yes, it's not about the price. So, but we have a large homebrew community here.
But essentially, this is these are Steve's slides. So this is sort of the coverage of the GNS, and all the different ones we use, and so on. So, in theory, and we're still working on the antennas with this, the GNS should work in-house. If you're near, it's not too many floors to go through. We have found the antennas to be quite a study, and we're still even testing this today. So we've actually found some better ones than the one we were originally told. So type of thing.
EGNOS performance may be different.
Yeah, we haven't tried it yet. So you guys will want to try that.
We'll be, okay. So you'll be sending us a unit for Newark, I believe, as well, for when we do the National Ham Fest.
You have an 400M that should be on the way.
Good. Is that ready to roll? have
To
a
my
play?
understanding, as of this morning, it is.
Okay, brilliant. That's great.
So adaptive pre-distortion, simply put, the red slide, the red graph here is a typical well-designed radio driven correctly. And this is a sideband output type of thing. Now, clearly, Steve borrowed this picture from the, I'm going to have to hide that bottom graph, but from probably, it says, 2.5 gig, but he did borrow the graph. But the concept's 100% the same of how it plots and how it splatters, and this is what it looks like. When we get done with adaptive pre-distortion, this is in the cellular range, we're going to look like the blue part. And why? Well, these are FCC regulations, but I'm sure it's no different over there.
Exactly
we
the same.
do same thing. So there's two types of adaptive pre-distortion. There's static and there's an adaptive. And static is essentially that you push you calibrate once and you're good to go. It's based on this one test, and you get an improvement of 8 to 15 dB from on the IMD numbers. Adaptive is done in real time, so you need some sort of radio that supports full duplex, and you see 15 to 20 dB improvement. I was always worried about this, wondering how the 7610 did it, and actually, so I went and asked Ray. He was with us on the weekend at ICOM. Do you know Ray at all?
Yeah. I've seen him around. I don't think we've ever met, but I've seen him around. So yeah.
So if I got him before, it was, one of those conversations I was getting into, and then somebody interrupted it. So I believe the static, you get a static or their DPD on when you're barefoot type of thing. You will get full adaptive on the amplifier, but on the PW2.
Okay.
And I think they're starting to ship those finally.
Yeah, I had to play with one the other week.
Oh, you actually have one in your hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So in the adaptive pre-distortion world and standalone, it's all built in, the sampling and everything's done, and it's adaptive. Okay. In the PGXL, you get a 60 dB tap. We're going to feed that back in one of the receive ports, the transverter port or the RX port. And if you've got a customer that's got those all populated and is worried about giving up his adaptive pre-distortion from the amplifier, we are going to come out with a TR relay, of course, that will still, be in bypass mode for receiving and then flip over into transmit, which is fortunate because you only need like the RX port, either for receiving or transmit. So that works out really well. And then the third party, if you had a third party amplifier, there's, a sampler type of thing. And the sampler's not really complicated.
Which we know is all not the way to go. You don't go that way. You want a fully integrated system when it comes to Flex. And that's from our customers that have the current setup fully integrated. It's superb package.
It's superb. I have one. Andy has one, and I tell you, if I didn't even work here, I don't think I'd just be writing the check for the pieces that aren't mine.
I love it.
Or they just might not get it back. This is going to be this is not going to be a long conversation, but we know that FT8 is by far the most popular. Love it or hate it, it's still where it grows. And this is an old graph. This is from 2021. And Andy, by the way, I went trying to see if I could build this for 2024 in Club Log, and I couldn't. But if you ever tinkering around, it would be cool to get this data. We are looking at up to a 30 kilohertz receive, probably an IQ stream to work with the FT8 guys. More importantly, so that a DXpedition could say, guys, spread out, I'll find you type of thing.
Yeah. It's
not fully baked. But here's where typical FT8 guys are all jammed in there, 200 people. And then, what if we increased it, 13 times and made them all spread out over here, type of thing. So it's not fully baked. It's probably not even going to end up looking like, how that works, right? So the internal GNS receiver is a great time standard as well. So there will be an onboard NTP time server on the radio that's active, and I believe Tim tells me as long as the radio is powered. I need to ask him if it needs to be powered up.
Okay.
So this works well if you don't have an NTP time standard, and this should help, of course, the DXpeditions and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, the DXpeditions would be ideal for that.
And that's the highlight. And
Cool.
CY9C, the contest, the DXpedition was an all flex show a couple of weeks ago, by the way, and it went amazingly well. They had no issues, they had no RF issues. It was all flex world.
Did they operate remote access as well, or were they just straight?
No,
So it's just straight.
It was all typical. Yeah, it's not like George that does this remote stuff. And there's arguments for both too. As you get down into the South Pacific and stuff, where they don't want any people on the island. And we heard from the last one that George Wallner's group was on, was they had Fish and Wildlife there, and every morning they came out and said, well, your antennas are too high, you need to cut them down. And they went from 35 feet to 25 feet because the birds are confused.
Yeah.
You know what they thought. But really, Jaskum?
Fair play.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
In both of those DXpeditions, Tony, the Maestro Cs were used, and the PC Smart SDR interface.
Okay.
It is a good example of what you can make possible in those conditions. Certainly, George's DXpedition was an excellent example of how you can do that remotely.
Yeah.
Good number of operators remote.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be the way to go. And yes, the cost of buying initial equipment, etc., for all the radios, the linears, etc. However, without that travel cost as well, I'm hoping it's going to, bring a lot more DXpeditions into the hobby. That's for sure. So
we did. We spent the weekend at W9DXCC, and I think Mike will concur. We saw and heard lots of promising news with respect to upcoming DXpeditions, stretching into, 2026, not the least of which was Bouvet.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would
January
be interesting.
2026 is their call on that.
Good. Well, you know where to find us if you need us for anything.
Yeah, no, we'll give you a holler, definitely. We'll get this Ham Fest out of the way, and then we'll have a chat and we'll try and put another video together. And I'll get Gary involved, our techie guy, as well. And he can throw some more technical questions at you.
All right, guys.
Okay.
7-3,
no problem. Take care. Thank you for coming as well. Really, really appreciate it. And we'll get this
anytime.
Video.
Right.
Okay.
7-3.
Take care. Enjoy your coffee. Cheers. Bye-bye. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that insight into our Zoom call with Flex. Not too sure if we should have done it, but we always like to give you information direct from the manufacturer. Anyway, I'm now going to hand you over to the Guv'nor. So over to Martin, who's got a little bit of extra news for you.
Afternoon to you, or morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A little bit different, just a very quick advertorial for a very good customer and friend of mine, Nigel G3TXF. You've probably worked, Nigel, if you're a DXer and CW aficionado or a CDXE member, anything, you've almost certainly heard or worked Nigel. He's selling his house, and because he lives in North Devon, just up the road from me in Woolacombe, he said, let's go for lunch, Martin. So we went for lunch. We had a lovely lunch in Instow, it's a little village near me. And we spoke about his amazing property, which is goodness knows how many hundreds of feet above sea level, with views to die for. So the reason I'm mentioning this is that Nigel would dearly love to sell his property to a radio ham. And the reason he'd like to sell it to a radio ham is, first of all, it's set in, I think, 1.9 acres. He's got aerials everywhere. You can see whoever purchases this house, preferably a radio ham, has got magnificent beasts like this. Versatiles, not one, not two. I do believe there are three. There's certainly two anyway that I can see. There's another one here, 3 towers. Nigel bought this many years ago when his family were growing up. Bring his family up and have a fantastic contest station. And in there used to be, there isn't anymore because it's all removed now, as a complete remote control radio station, so you could operate it from anywhere in the world. If you're interested in the property, there'll be a link below to Stags, who the estate agents are actually promoting and selling property for Nigel. But he really wishes and hopes that If there's a radio ham that wants to maybe retire or move to North Devon in Woolacombe, it's a beautiful part of the area with views to die for. I mean, look at that. And this is set in 1.9 acres. Then click on the link below, speak to the estate agent and see how you get on. But I really do hope, as Nigel does, that a radio ham looks at the property and thinks, yeah, that's for me, because it'd be a shame to waste it. That's it. See you in a few weeks when I'm back in London. Bye.